Hello and welcome to Connect with County Leaders. I'm Bryan Hill. On this edition of the podcast, I'm joined by Julie Coons, President and CEO of the Northern Virginia Chamber. Julie, welcome to our podcast because this is Connect with County Leaders and you are a leader, so welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Well, as we start our conversation, tell us a little bit about yourself and why in the heck did you come to Northern Virginia? Of all places, right?
Well, Northern Virginia is the economic center of the DMV. Over 40% of the economic activity in our region it emanates from Northern Virginia. And as we all know, nearly half of the tax revenue that's generated for the Commonwealth is also from Northern Virginia. So it's an exciting place to be, to represent all employers, businesses large and small, philanthropists, philanthropic organizations, our academic institutions. So it's a pretty exciting role. I'm happy to be here.
Well, when you say 40% of the economic power for the Commonwealth, I like to say the word power because, people don't realize how powerful we are here in Northern Virginia. What things do you see on the horizon that's going to continue to make sure that we continue to have that power? Because there's a lot of people in the Commonwealth that don't believe we do. But, we have a local composite index number. Ours is very high, which basically sends money elsewhere to the state, right? And we're okay with that, but we need to continue to do what we do here. Talk to me about some of the things that we can do to keep so we can continue doing the things we do here.
Yeah. So we do have very rich assets in this region. We have wonderfully well-educated population. And of course, that's from pre-K through 12 and then 2-year and 4-year institutions. We have major companies. We have a diversity of industry. We have wonderful quality of life. All of these things are so important to what we all experience and generating that economic power for the Commonwealth. At the same time, we see clouds ahead. The federal government has made a variety of decisions over the past 6 months that are impacting us. We see them in the way that our neighbors and friends as federal employees don't have the jobs that they did, and some may be in the future also losing their jobs. We see that federal dollars are being pulled back from a variety of companies and individuals, and that's had real wonderful economic impact on our region. But with that happening, and unfortunately we expect it either to accelerate or continue well into the future, we've got to think about how we maintain that economic power for ourselves and for the Commonwealth.
So, when you say that, and I totally agree with you, I see a lot of things happening in Fairfax County alone. Our unemployment rate is somewhat going up. It's not as high as other areas in other regions in the United States of America, but for us, when we see us go over 4%, we're like, whoa, what's going on?
Right.
What can we do to ensure that we can continue putting that voice out there to not only our president, but our governor to help us? Because, I want to talk about the board matter that was done on August 26th. Chairman Jeff McKay, he's always talking about economic competitiveness. And part of his effort is to work with stakeholders like yours. What is the single most important action business community can do? Because if we need to understand that we need to get, like you said, a roadmap, but we also need to be able to articulate what we need, and this is why it works.
So we look forward to partnering with the county and all stakeholders to look to the future. And as you shared, the Northern Virginia Chamber has developed with its leadership something called the NOVA Roadmap, which lays out a plan, a roadmap to get us from where we are today to where we think we need to be to sustain that economic development. We see that as both partnerships with the county and at the state. And are in 4 particular areas. One is really growing the industries that we have here today that are cutting edge and we know will grow. That's AI, robotics, advanced manufacturing, life sciences. We have them. Commercial space, we have them here. Let's intentionally grow them. That's both a county and a state partnership. It's also affordability.
Right.
Everyone is facing this, but it's not only our, if you will, our kids who are facing it, and they are. It's also our employees, right? When we want to attract and retain employees and they simply can't afford to live here, or we've invested in them since they were little tiny kids, and then they leave us when they start a family, we're losing an extraordinary asset. So it's a business issue, it's an employer issue.
Yeah.
And then there's definitely areas where we really want to partner with the county. We do today, but really expand that. We want to create better pathways, faster, less expensive pathways to establishing and growing businesses, thinking about land use and zoning and regulatory processes that really we want to look to make sure that we're as competitive as we can with states like North Carolina and other places, because it is a real challenge. And then we've got to really embrace our brand. We know this region to be incredibly innovative, a wonderful place to do business, a wonderful place to raise a family. We need to convey that even more.
It's interesting you mentioned the somewhat great state of North Carolina. I'll say somewhat great because we're the great Commonwealth of Virginia. We're typically number one or two in places that allow for good business development, places where companies want to land. Somehow we got to number 4. I'm not sure if you're able to speak on what things we have done to change that, but when I look at Fairfax County, our GDP is still going up. So it must be other areas in the Commonwealth that are not catching up with us for us to drop, but I'm not quite sure, other than the fact that, the president is looking at government entities to be smaller, but yet I'm still seeing growth in commercial space because somebody still has to do the work. And now businesses are doing the things that government was doing. I'm looking at it from my perspective. When do we go back to number 1? When they realize that we really haven't slipped at all?
Well, I would say this, the CNBC ranking that you're referencing specifically addressed the reduction in federal spending, and I think that's both direct with employees, agencies potentially being moved from this region, as well as that spending.
Right.
And I think that at least I can say business leaders believe that is long term, that tide is unlikely to turn back. And so if we agree on that, then what I think it means is we've got to find a new way to do business, that we've got to embrace that we can't do things the way we used to. And the way we used to do it's led to this wonderful quality of life. But when you talk about such an enormous contribution to this region and to the Commonwealth being less than it was before, less that push, less that organic push on growth, we've got to think very differently about how we partner, how we attract and retain business, how we actually execute that.
Well, we did a strategic plan, first ever in Fairfax County. I'm very thankful our board allowed us to move forward as a team to do that. And it's blending the economic growth and inclusive sustainable practices that you're referencing and actively incentivizing business development and revitalization. So with your help, obviously, we're going to continue to go forward with that. But, let me circle back to something you said earlier. You talked about the roadmap, and you didn't really speak about the Q3 Business Leader Survey report highlight on affordable housing and taxes as top priorities for business leaders. So, I speak to a lot of the business leaders. They all tell me housing is key. Talk to me about your the Business Leader Survey report that you have put out there.
Yeah, it's beginning in this year, we began surveying business leaders, and we've seen dramatic changes from as the federal government has made these variety of decisions. Affordability was an issue before, but it's become more acute. And one of the things that I consistently hear is at the end of the day, it's about supply of all types of housing. So what we're hopeful for is a real partnership with the county and other stakeholders to say, how can we look into what opportunities we have, perhaps adaptive reuse, perhaps accessory dwelling units, perhaps there's a variety of ways. And the county is going to be truly expert there. What I can say to you is, as business leaders, we're going to be at the table in the way we've been at the table on transportation. Business leaders over probably 50 years ago began really being at the table to partner around the need for a robust and efficient transportation system. And while we all lament traffic, at the same time, we really do have an amazing road network, a multimodal transportation network, bus, rail, walking lanes, bike lanes. We've got a whole variety. So now this is really a realization by business leaders. We've got to have that same intentionality and partnership around housing.
Well, when we say housing, I agree with you. We have an affordable housing component here in the Fairfax County. That's one of the 10 strategic plan initiatives. But when you also look at transportation with the road network, what are your thoughts? What are the business leaders' thoughts on Metro, so WMATA, and Metro Rail and the bus system? Because we know we have Fairfax County Connector here, and that bus service is basically situated to get inside of the communities. And then we have the WMATA bus network that ties more into Metro Rail. When I see the business leaders asking their employees come back to work, and I see the traffic on the road, the connectivity is key because we want to get there on time. What's your thoughts about the growth and expansion efforts with WMATA, VRE, and now that we have Longbridge? I'm not sure you know about this.
Sure.
We can actually figure out how to take a train from Braddock Road all the way to Camden Yards if we can get all the leaders together, which is what I'm trying to do on DMV Moves. But what's your thoughts on that?
So, baseline, absolutely, no question. We believe in a multimodal system and we want it to be as efficient as possible. We're also very cognizant, though, of how those dollars are being used.
Right.
And I know you've been a leader in that effort in the DMV Moves group. I've been on the community side. At this time, we don't see a need for expansion of Metro Rail. What we see is the opportunity to get Metro on a better financial footing where there's full transparency around how those dollars are being used to the most efficient end. And we certainly have seen, if anyone's a system rider, we've certainly seen improvements in that rider experience. But until we figure out that financial gap that continues to be very problematic, we've got to really focus on, as I say, that transparency and how dollars are used. They're taxpayer dollars, and there are many important uses of taxpayer dollars. It is not the only need out there. Public safety, education, and others. So we need to see that accountability from Metro, but we do believe that a high-functioning, good
Yeah.
multimodal system is essential for economic growth.
Well, as a chair of one of the groups with DMV Moves, you will see the transparency, the residents, the ridership. We'll see financial transparency. That's something that Mr. Clark, the general manager of WMATA, understands that they're not going to get a open piggy bank, but we will be submitting something very soon on that. I can't wait because I need to go back to my real job. So anyhow, let's move on. AI is a critical component of our economy. It continues to evolve rapidly and will only grow in importance. So what is in NVC's strategy to take advantage of this new era of artificial intelligence? Because, quite frankly, I use it almost every day. And we have the NACO toolkit. We have guidelines here in the county. We're trying to show our staff how to use it, but not use it to remove them from a job, but actually to enhance their job performance. So talk to me about what you're doing.
So we believe very deeply in the opportunity for this region to truly become a real national hub for AI. And one of the things is many listeners may know of AI as sort of a Silicon Valley set of companies, but the reality is it's very well positioned, embedded in our regional economy. Some of that is through the government contracting work, as some of that is through independent companies, but it's being used here today, and we have an opportunity to expand it. And one of our real advantages for becoming that East Coast hub of it is our amazing knowledge workers. Some of them are coming out of the federal government, whether by choice or otherwise right now, but they're there and they're knowledge workers who can, with some additional training, can easily move into those AI jobs of the future.
Okay.
So we really want to embrace our amazing talent and workforce, leverage our academic, the 2-year Northern Virginia Community College, George Mason, and others who are here in the county to really skill those workers so that, again, we can attract the expansion and growth. A leader in the government contracting community talking to me about AI said, we really have an opportunity around civic tech. Really, AI as a force for good, both at the federal government level, at the state, and in our regional economy. So a different take on it than it's coming out of Silicon Valley. And I think with that type of branding, we really can attract many companies to the region.
I like that. Civic tech. I mean, we're going to have to kind of use that terminology as we brand what we're trying to do and move it forward. So that's I appreciate you saying that. Now, NBC's been a cornerstone of this community for over 100 years, and this is why I think Fairfax County and Northern Virginia is so far ahead, because it's not like we're young people. We've had this organization that's been here for 100 years, right?
Right.
We've learned from the best. We'll continue to strive from the best. Where are you taking NBC over the next 100 years?
Yeah. So last fall, we began convening.
Just want to make sure everybody understands. She is smiling and she says this, okay, guys. So sorry for interrupting you. You go.
Yeah, no.
100 years.
It really is. It's such a privilege to lead an organization that has that depth of history, right, and accomplishment. I mean, some of the learnings are the NBC was around to help establish Dulles, right? The Beltway, Metro, early days of raising money and supporting that for Metro. So this organization has been there in partnership with the county and the state and citizens to really drive this region forward. So as we look to the next 100 years, we started talking about this last fall. And again, the first things that come up are affordability, and that's both housing and childcare, and the need, again, for business to be at the table on those. Also, the ease of doing business. It has gotten more challenging for us. It's something we've been very open and want to talk more about as we go forward. But then the federal government changes came. And so that's what's led us. So this next 100 years, if you will, is really about what we're outlining in the roadmap, really juicing these nascent industries that are already here, being that national and international hub for them to really tackle some of the challenges we've had in speed to market and cost to market for business, commercial real estate and the like, and really being partners to see how do we move that along as fast as other competitive regions. And then, of course, as I said before, we've just got to figure out this housing issue. And it's not simple, or we would have figured it out already. And there's lots of challenges there. But I think if we all agree that it's critical to our future, then you figure it out.
Yeah, we do figure it out quite well in Northern Virginia. But now, could you speak to the importance of stakeholder involvement, and how does NBC plan to continue engaging those partners to ensure the success and the next centennial?
Yeah. So first of all, what I would tell you about NBC is we really are a community-based organization. Employer growth, that includes businesses, it includes our philanthropic community, those who deliver social services of a variety of nature, and our academic institutions. Those are all coming together in community at NBC, and that's our long history. So that history continues. So as we look at the future, one of the most important things is to assemble all stakeholders at that table, because we truly believe with our philanthropic partners, our partners in government, both the locality as well as the state, and with our academic partners, we drive the best solutions. And so we, in fact, already engage very broadly with labor as well. Many of our members have labor as a component of their employer base. So we think all of these groups need to come to the table, and that's what we're doing now. We're beginning that process of creating those tables for discussion about how do we prioritize or sequence what we need to do now, understanding what we're going to need to do a year from now and 5 years from now, because this won't be easy. I think we have to all accept that a common understanding, none of this is easy, or we would have been able to do it all already. We're faced with a profound change to our region. So if we can have a common understanding that we can't quite do business the way we used to, we've got to think about it differently, but in partnership with stakeholders.
Well, Julie, you heard it. You've said it. We've heard it here. We've gone from academics to government to philanthropy to business to health to AI technology to get to civic tech.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to kind of use that terminology as I move forward. And I just want to say thank you to Julie Coons, President and CEO of Northern Virginia Chamber. Thanks for being here, Julie. I really appreciate you taking your time out. And still to come, a new employee spotlight feature of the podcast called Connect with the Team. I think I want to say Connect with the Gang. Yeah, I like gang better because it's a team that's a gang of teams that we have here in Fairfax County. And for this first episode, we're connecting with Drew Clark with our Department of Public Safety Communications to learn about AI. We talked about that as well.
Yeah.
And Fairfax County 911 systems. Stay tuned for that. We'll be right back. And Julie, thanks again. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right.
Did you know economic opportunity is an area of focus in Fairfax County? Visit our website and find out how the county is shaping the future of Fairfax to become a place where all people, businesses, and places are thriving economically.
Hey, welcome back to Connect with County Leaders podcast. With this month's podcast, I'm excited to announce the start of a new segment that we're calling Connect with the Gang. Not the team, guys, the gang. And for our first employee chat, I'm joined by my guy, Drew Clark, Assistant Director, 911 Dispatch Operations in our Department of Public Safety Communications. Our 911 Center is the largest public safety answering point in the Commonwealth of Virginia and one of the 10 largest in the United States, receiving approximately 1 million calls requesting public safety service per year. So today I'm excited to chat with my guy, Drew, about Fairfax County's 911 and artificial intelligence, AI, and how the 911 Center plans to incorporate AI into our operations. Drew, what's going on, my guy?
How's it going?
Hey, man, every day I wake up, it's a great day. How about you?
Same. Thanks for having me.
My guy, look at this guy, dressed to impress, nice watches, and very smart. And we are so blessed and happy to have you as one of our many people here working in Fairfax County. So we wanted to start it off easy and slow. Tell us a little bit about Drew.
So I started with the county back in 2013. Started as a call taker. I had told myself once a call taker, always a call taker. So even to this day, even as the assistant director, I still take calls because I want to be connected to our community. I want to know what my people are going through. And when I started in 911, none of this existed. AI, there was no talks of AI. There was no talks of mental health. The technology was outdated. So I'm really excited to be part of a team that's kind of on the leading edge of this technology.
But, not only are we on the leading edge of this technology, we're on the leading edge of communications externally around the Commonwealth because, I see you all over the place talking about what we do here in Fairfax County, and the ambassadorship that you bring to us is top notch. So, like you said, in August, Fairfax County Department of Public Safety, we launched the phase 1 of our assisted non-emergency triage program on our non-emergency line. That's something you and I and Scott Brillman and Tom Arnold talked about maybe a year ago, saying, we can't continuously sustain how we're doing business. We bring in 10 call takers to go to school. We might get 1.7 back. And of the 1.7, after a week, we might have 0.6. So you guys have been able to do this a little different, a little better, a lot better, because we were retaining staff. Now we're almost fully staffed, not quite yet. I've been watching the numbers.
January.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm gonna bring you back in February, because I'm gonna have the map up showing that you hit it. But talk about that a little bit, of where we're heading and how we're gonna get there.
And it's not just a people problem, it's a call volume issue. And 911, just dispatch in general, has been a catch-all. Because we're a 24/7 agency, people rely on us to always be there, always be ready, which we are. But the call volume now, we're looking at a 60-40 split, and 60% of our daily call volume is non-emergency only. Out of those non-emergency calls for service, half of them are information only. So, where's my car? It was towed. Can I get a record for a police report? How can I get fingerprinting in the county? So general county services people call us for as well. So now, to handle that call volume issue, we want to offload that to an AI system to save our greatest resource, which is our human resource, to save lives.
Well, how did the initial pilot? I mean, we did it last week. The last week of August. How did it roll out? And tell me the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that we take over 1 million calls a year, because people can't really conceptualize that.
Yeah.
So a day we take 3,000 calls for service. In just 2 hours that we had the pilot program on, it took 150 calls, just non-emergency calls, in 2 hours.
That's good.
So we really were able to see the full gambit of what it can do, what it can't do. Right now, it's only handling those information-only calls, so it's not able to handle calls for dispatch or calls for service.
Understood.
So we're just, like you said, we explored last year. It took us a while to find a product that we actually liked, because we don't want our community using a phone tree, hitting a whole bunch of numbers. We wanted something that's conversational, just talking just as you and I are talking right now.
Yeah.
And so the AI program does that. It's called ANET, and it escalates as the caller escalates. It has a live transfer feature where it can get them right into the 911 queue if needed. But when we turned it on, most people didn't even know they were talking to AI.
I didn't either.
We had one really intuitive caller that said, "Is this AI?" And we had never asked the AI program that. So we were waiting to see what it would say. And it said, "Yes, I am AI, and I'm here to assist you. How may I serve?"
Now, our board has been challenging us to be the cutting edge, which we always are, because we're one of the top counties when it comes to government running, how we run government. But we've also added in this component languages.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about the languages that are instituted inside of this AI program, because we have been doing more and more language, bringing languages into how we do business here, because our Commonwealth is getting very diverse.
Yeah.
Fairfax County is hugely diverse. So talk to me about the language.
And that's definitely a gap that we're trying to address currently, because the system only takes English and Spanish calls.
Okay.
So we're working with the vendor to at least get the top 5 languages spoken in Fairfax County by phase 2, which would be the beginning of winter. So we know for Fairfax County particularly, we have over 170 languages spoken, languages I've never even heard of before.
Mm-hmm.
And so we definitely want to meet the community where they are. Using the traditional model that we currently use, a third-party service that's not trained in crisis communications, is not sustainable. So we're really kind of leaning into the power of this AI platform to kind of bridge that gap.
Now, you say pilot. This is a pilot program. We're in phase 1. Phase 2 is languages. What are you envisioning for phase 3?
Phase 3 will be actual dispatch calls for service on the non-emergency line.
Drew, it's my pleasure to be here with you as part of the gang.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
And well, that's just going to do it for this episode of Connect with County Leaders podcast. My thanks to Drew for joining me, as well as Julie Coons, President and CEO of the Northern Virginia Chamber. And thanks to you for joining us. I look forward to talking with you again next month on another episode of Connect with County Leaders podcast, and with my gang.
Proud to be part of the gang.
Man, you get to go, bro.